Hi everyone, today we'll discuss about structure of mammalian heart. So let's see first of all objectives of this video. So let's talk about objectives quickly. In this video we'll see structural features of heart including its external features and internal features. We'll try to understand differences in thickness of different chambers of heart according to their functions. Is a muscular double pump. It has two sides. One side, that is the right side, carries deoxygenated blood, and left side it carries oxygenated blood. So we call heart as a double pump because it is pumping blood on the right side towards the lungs, and on the left side it is pumping blood, oxygenated blood throughout the body. So that's why we call heart as a double pump. When we talk about position of heart in the chest cavity, we see that heart it sits slightly off center to the left of the chest cavity. So these are atria. So it lies with atria in the middle of the cavity. So let's talk about external features of heart. The main part of heart consists of dark red muscle, as you can see here. So this feels very firm. This is the muscle that is surrounding two main pumping chambers. These are known as ventricles. Above the ventricles are two thin walled chambers. These are known as atria. Atria are very small as compared to the ventricles, as you can see. These are so small that they are very easy to overlook. Whenever you buy a heart from butcher, these atria have often been removed. On the surface of heart, as you can see here, there are a lot of arteries. These are known as coronary arteries. As the heart is a hard-working organ, these arteries are very important as they supply oxygen and nutrients to the heart muscles itself. If they become constricted, these can have serious consequences on the health of heart and that of the animal. Restricted blood flow means that there is reduced supply of oxygen and nutrients, which can lead to the angina or heart attack, which is also known as myocardial infarction. On the top of heart, as you can see, there are a number of tubes. These are two main types of tube. These are veins and arteries. There are two types of vessels that are coming out from the heart. These are veins. All veins carry blood towards the heart, and all arteries they carry blood away from the heart. Now we'll talk about internal features of heart. Internally, heart consists of four chambers, two upper atria and two lower ventricles. Heart is clearly divided into two sides. This is the right side of heart and this is the left side of heart. So each side it is having one atrium and one ventricle. So let's talk about right atrium first. This is the right atrium that receives deoxygenated blood from the body through these major veins. This is the superior vena cava and this is the inferior vena cava. These veins are bringing deoxygenated blood into the right atrium. From right atrium, blood is going down into the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, the blood is going into the lungs through this pulmonary artery. Once in the lungs, it is getting oxygen from there, and after getting oxygen, blood comes back into the heart again through these pulmonary veins and comes here into the left atrium. From the left atrium, blood goes down into the left ventricle, and from the left ventricle, blood is pushed into the major artery, that is the aorta. And aorta then it distributes the oxygenated blood throughout the different parts of the body. So you can notice here that here in the atria, the blood it is coming into the atria through the veins. So the right atrium it is receiving deoxygenated blood from this vein, vena cava, and the left atrium it is receiving oxygenated blood through these pulmonary veins. And from the ventricles, as the blood is leaving here and it is leaving into the aorta and into the pulmonary artery. So pulmonary artery is taking deoxygenated blood to the lungs, and this aorta it is taking away blood, oxygenated blood to the different parts of the body. So that's why we call that all veins they carry blood towards the heart. and all arteries, they carry blood away from the heart. And here, as you can see that as this blood is coming from the atria to the ventricles, here these are the valves, these are the flaps of tissues, these control the flow of blood. So once in the ventricles, when ventricles contract, these valves, these remain closed. This makes sure that the blood goes into the major arteries when the ventricles contract and not back into the atria. And at the base of major arteries where they exit the heart. So these valves, these are known as semilunar valves, and these valves, these are known as these are connecting the atria and ventricles. So these are known as atrioventricular valves. So inside the ventricles, there are the string-like structures. These string-like structures, as you can see here, these are known as tendinous cords. These tendinous cords actually connect these valves to the walls of ventricle. And these tendinous cords, these prevent the valves from turning inside out, which would allow blood to flow up into the atria. A wall of muscle called the septum separates the ventricles from each other. So these are the ventricles, and this is the wall that is separating these two chambers. And this septum makes sure that the oxygenated blood in the left side of heart and deoxygenated blood in the right side of heart are kept separate. So there are three layers that are present in the heart muscle. So outer layer is known as epicardium, the middle layer it is known as myocardium, and the inside, the inner layer, it is known as endocardium. So these different layers, these are making the wall of heart. Now we'll talk about thickness of various chambers of heart. As we know, the muscle of each chamber contracts to create increased pressure in the blood. The higher the pressure created in the heart, the further it will push the blood. So the muscle of atria is very thin, as you can see here. This is the muscles of atria. And this is because these chambers do not need to create much pressure. Their function is to push the blood down into the ventricles here. When we talk about right ventricle wall, the walls of right ventricle are thicker than the walls of atria. This enables the right ventricle to pump blood out of the heart. But the walls of right ventricle are much thinner than those of the left ventricle, as you can see the thickness of the left ventricle and the thickness of the right ventricle. The right ventricle pumps deoxygenated blood to the lungs. The lungs are in the chest cavity beside the heart, so the heart does not need to travel very far. Also, the lungs contain a lot of very fine capillaries that are in close contact with the walls of the alveoli. The alveoli walls are very thin and there is very little or no tissue fluid, so the capillaries are not supported and could easily burst. So the pressure of blood must be kept down to avoid the bursting of capillaries in the lungs. The left ventricle, the walls of the left ventricle can be 2 or 3 times thicker than those of the right ventricle. The blood from the left ventricle is pumped out through the aorta and needs sufficient pressure to overcome the resistance of systemic circulation. This is all about structure of mammalian heart. I hope this video will help you to understand this topic. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe my channel.